What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to give you a very impactful video and a challenging video in order to get you going in the right direction. And the challenge that I'm going to give you is the question of what are you willing to do, and are you willing to do whatever it takes in order for you to get over and overcome and get to the other side of your anxiety disorder. Now, initially that may sound like, oh my God, yes, of course I would. I would do whatever it took. But I'm going to go back to when I was in the thick of my struggle with health anxiety. I had set up a consultation to speak with the anxiety guy off of YouTube. Most everybody who's going to watch this video probably knows who that is. And in the consultation, the one-on-one video call that I had with the anxiety guy, he asked me a question. And that question was, what are you afraid of in terms of healing from anxiety? And initially it struck me as odd because I was like, nothing. I would do anything to get over anxiety. It's horrible. It's the worst thing that I could ever, imagine. Now I see more of what he meant. And I actually have answers to that question later down the line with anxiety than I had before when I was actually on the call, because it takes a lot. It's very difficult to overcome anxiety, and you have to be willing to give up a lot and challenge yourself and challenge, what you've been told, what you believe, what you're doing. Because I can guarantee you that pretty much everybody that's suffering from an anxiety disorder is, doing some things that are detrimental to your overall health, and you might not even know about it. So I'm going to go over a couple of things in this video, and hopefully it helps somebody, see the light and realize, maybe I should be doing something a little bit different. I do have a list here to the left, so I'm going to be, referring to that. So if you see me look away, I'm looking at the list. So the first step always, especially when it comes to health anxiety, is have you gotten the reassurance from the doctors for whatever your major symptoms are? If you're like myself, you have major fears about the heart. Have you seen a specialist? Have you been to a cardiologist? Or are you afraid of going to the doctors or getting, checked out, getting testing done for fear of, getting bad news? I can tell you that there's really no reason why you shouldn't be going to the doctor and getting the reassurances, getting the testing done. Most likely, there isn't something major going on. And it will boil down to anxiety. And then you can, tell yourself that whenever you're feeling anxious, whenever you're feeling your heart beating, whenever you're feeling your heart beating stronger, when you're feeling nervous, you can tell yourself that you've gotten these things checked out, you've gotten the necessary testing done, and you can combat the negative thoughts that come along with that. If you do not go to the doctor, you don't get these things checked out, you're always going to be fighting with your thoughts in your mind. Okay? There's always going to be part of you that's saying, oh, well, it's anxiety, and I know that it's anxiety because other people have, said that they suffer from the same things. But then on the other hand, it's going to be, well, maybe it's not. What if I'm different? What if I'm in the minority? What if there is something more going on? And I can tell you that if you're, a negative thinker and you're deep into your anxiety struggle, the negative thoughts are pretty much going to win the day. And you're just going to continue down that same path. So that's the most important thing to do is to get these things ruled out and realize, okay, you don't have anything wrong right now. Take a deep breath. Now, you can work on, the other surrounding areas in order to get everything, together and work like a, full-oiled machine. Okay. The second thing is how is your sleep? Sleep is incredibly important. I mean, if you're somebody that's not getting adequate amounts of sleep, you're staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're watching Netflix, you're surfing the internet, you're doing all these kind of things. Your sleep schedule is really thrown off. If you're, staying up till 1, 2 in the morning, you're battling anxiety, you're only getting, 5 hours of sleep, 5.5 hours of sleep. Then you're waking up and you're constantly flooding your system with adrenaline, cortisol. You're constantly going into fight or flight. You're depleting your body. You're depleting your system. It's just not the most optimal way to fight back at this, to overcome this. You have to be getting adequate sleep, and your sleep has to be restful and rejuvenating. I would even recommend getting a sleep study done just to so somebody can look at your sleep, make sure you're getting the right amounts of sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, and you're not coming out. Again, for me, when I was going through it, I didn't know that I had sleep apnea at the time. So I was just going about my life thinking that everything was good. I was thinking that, oh, I'm fatigued because I have anxiety and I'm, mentally drained and I'm physically drained from battling this and all that. Well, partially correct, but I also had an underlying issue that was figured out. Now, again, it made me realize, okay, so my diet was horrible, and I was, again, 250 pounds at the time. Now, again, like I'm 195, I've lost 55 pounds. I don't even know if I have sleep apnea anymore. I'm waiting actually to get a follow-up test for that, but that just goes to show you that there could be, other areas of your life that could use improvement that are spilling over into anxiety and that are exacerbating your symptoms and potentially even causing anxiety because it's throwing off your body. So outside of that are you willing to get outside and get in sunlight, get a little bit of exercise, at least 20 minutes a day? You're willing to go for little walks. Now, in my instance, again, when I was going through it and I got okays from the doctors and the cardiologist, I still found it incredibly hard to get up to go outside because I was still fearful something was wrong with my heart. Something was going to happen if I was going outside for a walk. I was going to go outside, walk a couple of feet, and drop. It's difficult to change mindset, but I can tell you that you can. I have no issues going outside now, walking around, no shoes, no socks, feet in the ground, and in the grass, doing some grounding. Of course, it's harder to do right now because it's freezing, snowing, and sometimes. But even grounding mats, I actually have a grounding mat. You just plug into an outlet, keep your feet on there. It gives you that same benefit. So getting outside, getting sunlight on your skin, getting sunlight in your eyes, setting yourself up for good sleep. That's another thing, that little thing that can be done that can go towards getting you on the right track, to getting you to the other side of an anxiety disorder. Now, the next thing that I would want to mention, it's again very important, is diet. I mention this a lot, also in the Reddit community. I feel like diet is an insanely important key to overcoming anxiety. Are you somebody that needs caffeine? Are you somebody that needs coffee in the morning to get your day going? Are you somebody, when you go to lunch, if you on a lunch break from work, you're running through Dunkin' Donuts, you're running through Starbucks, you're getting a coffee, you're drinking that. Caffeine stays in your system for hours and hours. I think it's 10 hours. So if you're somebody that's, drinking a coffee at 1, 2 p.m., then you're trying to go to sleep at 10 p.m. or something like that. I mean, good luck with that. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be more difficult than if you weren't, drinking caffeine. Sugar, high amounts of carbs, things like that. My diet was bad. It was very carb heavy, not a lot of meats, eggs, things like that. It was very, very carb heavy, junk, a lot of junk food, fast food, things like that. And when I started to lose weight and started to go to the doctors, they would tell me, you got to eat healthy, you got to get better, you got to eat healthy. And even though I was losing some weight, because anything is technically better than your standard diet, or especially what I was putting in my body at that time, I felt worse. So a lot worse. So that was me going from eating a standard diet. Again, now I had still been able to lose weight because it was still better, but I was eating a lot of salads, a lot of greens, a lot of leafy greens, a lot of nuts, almonds, multiple times a day, cashews multiple times a day, things like that. Spinach, kale smoothies, things like that, thinking that was healthy, for me. Afterwards, though, I had changed my diet again. I went not fully meat-based, but primarily, meat-based, still with some carbs and some sugars and things like that, mixed in some fruits and some vegetables. And miraculously, I started to feel better. It didn't take very long after that, maybe a few weeks after that, where I actually started to feel better. And I was like, huh. And then I started to do a little bit more research into some things. And there are some people who do a lot of research and have a lot of videos out on, YouTube, Instagram, and things like that that can go into the details for you into how, a heavy plant-based diet isn't really all that healthy for you after all, because of plant toxins and things like that, and oxalates and salicylates and things like that that are in, plants. So again, that's just anecdotal. That was my experience with it. If you have questions about that, please feel free. I mean, anybody can, DM me on Instagram or on Reddit, and I will be glad to answer any kind of questions, that I can about that. Now, the next thing is not just toxic foods, but toxic people. What are your close relationships like? Are you in a relationship with a spouse who is verbally abusive? Hopefully not physically abusive, but are you in a toxic relationship yourself? Do you have? Are you close to family members who are toxic? Do you have close friends who are very toxic? I had this too. I had to distance myself, from certain people because it just wasn't good for healing. It's always negativity, constant flooding your system, social media, news networks, things like that, especially with what's going on now with the pandemic. It's always negativity, death, fear mongering. These things are just not helpful. That's what kind of kicked off COVID, was what kicked off, my horrible health anxiety. I never had this before the whole thing with COVID came about. I was still living my life unhealthy. And eventually I think it would have, boiled over and hit me. But that COVID, I think, was that trigger that just went, it just broke through, and then, my body just kind of went haywire. So toxicity from people, coworkers, all that kind of stuff is important. Have you checked vitamin levels? This goes into supplements and diet also. Have you seen anybody to check, maybe overly jealous in relationships? That could be a sign. Are you somebody that is a perfectionist? That could be a sign. Are you somebody that's very over analytical? That could be a sign. Those were some things with me that really, looking back at it now, I could say, okay, those things kind of led me to develop an anxiety disorder, because you're just never kind of flowing, you're never kind of calm. It's always like, if you're gonna do something, do it right. It just leads you to, you're reading it too much into things a lot of times, which just is constantly, making your thoughts race. And it can just cause issues down the road. So those are also areas that you need to look at to realize, okay, what can I change? What's not really useful to me anymore now that I'm, growing up and I'm grown. I don't need to carry this around anymore. Like as a youngster, it was there because of the things that I was witnessing and experiencing in, my childhood. But it's not. I don't need it anymore. I realize that it's not the way that I should be. It doesn't help me at all. It gets me into arguments. It makes me think about things. It makes me stew on things for a long period of time. Some people are just moving on from certain things and not thinking twice, but you're thinking about things for hours and hours and days and holding grudges and things like that. That kind of stuff, you can do without. So that's another important thing. To finalize what I was talking about before about the supplements, I can promise you that if you're highly anxious all the time, you're depleting your body of vital, nutrients in your body. With me too, I noticed that I was, number one, I was always vitamin D, borderline clinically deficient, vitamin B12, the same kind of thing. But when you get anxious, you pull from certain vitamins and minerals in your body. I know magnesium is a big one. So, when you get when you're anxious and you get the numbness and you get the tingling in your fingers, I used to get it all the time, almost all day long, numbness and tingling in my fingertips, especially. Like there would be, my ring finger, ring finger and middle finger on my left hand would essentially go numb. And that of course puts you into panic mode. But it's explained by the fact that, your body is doing what it was, designed to do. When you're going into fight or flight, you just shouldn't be going into fight or flight in certain situations. So I would ask everybody, what are you waiting for? What steps haven't you taken? What are you afraid of? That's what's holding you back. Because if you don't do anything, it's just going to be impossible to overcome anxiety. It really is. If you don't know where to start, use this video as a starting tool. Again, please like the video, share the video with people. I know this is a newer channel. I don't have a lot of subscribers, but get it out there. This can help a lot of people get on the right track. I'm available on social media, Instagram, Reddit. The Anxiety Community is the name. DM me if you need personalized coaching, if you want to do a one-on-one session. I can guarantee you that I can help you. I promise that I can help you. Especially if you're somebody that's new to this, you just got bombarded with this, you're just feeling all this kind of stuff flowing through your system for the first time, you don't know where to turn. There's a lot of advice out there, and there's a lot of bad advice out there. Just to be honest, I can speak from experience. I tried a lot of things. I spoke to numerous people. I've gone through numerous programs. I've paid a lot of money. All basically to circle back to the fact that for me, it was lifestyle related mostly. Yes, I have some things that I still hold on to from the past, but I've gotten better and got to the other side of anxiety without really still processing a lot of those things. Like there are some things that I plan on doing, and just trying to rid from my system. But I got through my terrible anxiety by addressing diet, sleep, exercise, supplementation. Breathing is another thing. I had a video I just put out there just solely dedicated on breathing. That is also another foundation. And there's also coping mechanisms that maybe I'll do in a different video that can help you along the way while you're going through what you're going through. Because while you're changing things, your anxiety is still going to be going full bore, because again, you're fearful of change too. That's a big thing with anxiety sufferers. We don't want change. Anything that changes in our body is now a threat and a danger to us. When I was living my life perfectly fine, I went from living my life perfectly fine, not feeling anything, to getting flooded with anxiety, getting flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, having my heart skip beats all the time. That was a danger to me. I thought that I was dying. I thought my life was over. And then my body got so used to and familiar with that for the months and months and months and months that went on, that when that started to dissipate, and when I did not start to feel anxious 24/7 and my heart started to calm down and all that kind of stuff, that again made me anxious. So feeling the feeling of calm made my body go haywire again, and that made me super fearful again. So anything that's changing the norm, even though the norm might not be very good for you, is still seen by your subconscious and your nervous system as a threat. So with that being said, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. If you have any questions, please feel free, hit me up, Instagram, Reddit, wherever you can catch me, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much.